Ladies and gentlemen, every single one of us has two choices in life: to settle for what we're given or to fight for the future we dream of. The difference between ordinary and extraordinary is not luck, it's vision, courage, and the refusal to quit when everyone else tells you it's impossible. You are not here by accident. You are here because deep inside you know you're meant for more. And today I'm going to show you how to unleash that power and rewrite your destiny. Have a vision, think big, ignore the naysayers, work your ass off, and give back and change the world. Because if not us, who? If not now, when? What is the secret to success? And the long version is that I actually always had 5 rules, and everything that they did always used those 5 rules, and those 5 rules helped me to become successful in various different areas. And I believe that those rules can be applied to almost anyone and everyone. You don't need to be a bodybuilding champion. You don't need to want to be a governor of California or to be an action hero or anything like that. If you want to excel in whatever you do, those rules are for you. It's that simple. Now, I have to tell you right off the top that I always was very intense as a kid already. I was very intense and I was very hungry. I always wanted to be the best. I always wanted to be number one. I always wanted to get to the top. I never believed in just getting by. Now, I have nothing against people that just want to get by, because I think there are many roads to happiness, but I think that we all here like to be successful and we are driven. So that's why those rules apply to you. So my first rule is find your vision and follow it. You see, I think it's the most important thing that we have a very clear vision of where we go, a goal, where do we go? Because you can have the best ship in the world, you can have the best cruise liner, but if the captain does not know where to go, that ship will drift around the world and out there the sea and will never end up anywhere. And this is exactly the way it is in real life. If you don't have a goal, if you don't have a vision, you just drift around and you're not going to be happy. This is why it is so important to have that vision. Now, I created that vision in Austria because I grew up after the Second World War. Austria, right along with Germany, lost the Second World War, thank God. And the problem was that everyone was so depressed because they lost the war that there was alcoholism everywhere. There was, of course, depression. There was a terrible economic situation. There was famine. There was starvation and all those things. And also, it was kind of a little place and narrow. I felt I wanted to get out of there. I wanted to escape, and I couldn't see myself really to work there and to stay there, to work in a factory or to work in a farm or to even to follow my father's footsteps and to become a police officer. I couldn't see that either. As a matter of fact, that's what my parents wanted me to do. They wanted me to become a police officer and to marry a girl by the name of Heidi and to have a bunch of children and to run around like the Fontrap family in The Sound of Music. But that's not what I saw. This was the vision of my parents, but not mine. And luckily, one day in school, I watched a documentary about America, and I found myself, I knew exactly that is where I wanted to end up. I wanted to be in America. Everything that I saw in the documentary, I just loved. Everything was so big. I remember the tall skyscrapers, the monstrous bridges, the giant free was filled with beautiful cars, the huge jetliners, movie stars, Muscle Beach, and all of those things. I could not wait to get there. The question was just, how do I get there? How do I get to America? I mean, this was not a common thing to do. Back in the 50s, no one had the money to travel or anything, but one day, I was fortunate enough to see a magazine, and that magazine showed me the path to America. And it was a bodybuilding magazine, and on cover was this very muscular guy that was standing there like Hercules with a Hercules outfit. His name was Ree Park. This R Park was on that cover. And I remember the cover said, Mr. Universe becomes Hercules star. I read the article as fast as I could, learning about how he grew up in Leeds in England, poor, and how he trained 5 hours a day, every single day, and trained and trained and trained and lift weights. Then he finally became Mr. Great Britain, and then he became Mr. Universe, and then he won a second Mr. Universe title and the third Mr. Universe title, and then all of a sudden he landed in Rome in Cinecittà doing Hercules movies, and there he made millions of dollars, and this money he took and bought himself a gymnasium chain in South Africa, and he became a successful gymnasium owner. And as I read, I became more and more certain about my own future. As I read this story, I was so excited, so interested. I knew exactly that I wanted to become another Rich Park. I know he laid out the blueprint for my life. Basically, I could see myself, I could visualize myself clearly to be a champion on that same stage where he won the Mr. Universe, and then to move to America, then get into movies, and then become rich and famous. I had that vision very clearly laid out. I was so happy that I knew exactly where I was going from that moment on. Everything that I did, no matter how hard I had to work or how much I had to struggle, it didn't matter. It was a wonderful joyride because I knew what the purpose was and I found my passion. The simple truth is, if you don't have a vision, if you don't have a goal, if you don't see your future laid out in front of you, you're just floating around without a purpose. And I think that the numbers speak for themselves. This is why so many people around the world are unhappy with their jobs. I mean, in America, 74% of the people hate their job and would like to change jobs. But think about that. That means that only a quarter of the Americans love their life's work. I mean, that is a very depressing statistic. I always smiled when I worked. No matter how hard I worked, I always had a great time. No matter what I did, it didn't matter if it was in bodybuilding or if it was in the movies or if it was as governor. I remember in the pumping iron days, people asked me in the gym all the time, why are you smiling all the time? Why are you so happy? You have to lift 50 tons of weights. You have to train 5 hours a day. I mean, I look at the other bodybuilders' faces and lifts faces, and they look kind of depressing. They look sour. They're miserable that they have to lift weights. You don't look miserable. You look happy. And I tell them always to say I smile, because I know exactly that every rep that I do, that every set that I do, every weight that I lift, I get one step closer to turning that vision of mine into reality and becoming that Mr. Universe. I could not wait to lift another 500 pallet salge. In the squats, I could not wait to do another 1,000 sit-ups. I could not wait to do bench spar, more bench spar and more curls until I couldn't move my arms anymore, because I knew that every rep got me closer to standing on that stage as a champion. As a matter of fact, when I lifted weights, I didn't really feel like I was lifting weights. I felt like I was lifting a trophy over my head each time I lifted. And to have all those bodybuilders around me and thousands of people screaming, and I tell you that this vision didn't just help me in bodybuilding, it helped me with everything. Like I said, I remember in a movie business, there was many times stunts that I had to do where I got hurt, where I was in pain, in agony, and had to do it over and over again. I remember one incident specifically in Conan the Barbarian. There I was crawling on all four on rocks, over rocks and gravel, holding my sword right in front of me. And as I was crawling, the camera followed me, and it was around 30 feet that to crawl on those rocks and this gravel. And eventually after 10 takes my elbows and my knees started bleeding and hurting. And the dyer came to me sheepishly and said to me, he says, do you mind if we do another take? I need a close-up of you. And I said to him, no, I don't mind at all. I said, go and do as many takes as you want. He says, no, I don't want to do that because I know you're in pain, you're bleeding. I said, no, I don't feel any pain. I said, the only thing I see is the finished scene. I see the finished scene of me crawling on all four with my sword in the front, crawling up and sneaking up behind Thala Doom, the main villain of the Conan movie that killed my parents, and rising up behind him and cutting his head off. That's what I see. Remember, crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and hear the lamentation of their women. So this is why, because I visualized that scene. This is why I did not feel that pain. I did not care if I was bleeding on my knees, because I know that pain is temporary, but the film is permanent. And I explained that to the director. So this is why I try to tell you, always discover your vision and the rest will follow. Now, my second rule is never ever think small. If you're going to accomplish anything, you have to think big. You have to go and shoot for the stars. The biggest challenge most people have is because they think small. And the reason why people think small and why they choose small little goals is because they're afraid to fail. They know that if you shoot for a big goal, then the chances of failing are very high. And they're afraid of failing. It's one of the most common things why people are frozen and why they cannot make a move in life, because they're scared of failing. I said to myself, hey, I'm not worried about failing, because that's part of life. You're not going to be go and win everything. And how far can you fall? Look at this. This is the ground that's as far as I can fall. And you know, something that the only time you really consider the failure is if you fall and you don't get up. But if you get up, you're never considered a failure. So I never considered myself a failure. I always considered myself a winner, even though I fell every so often, but I always got up and I always moved forward. This is the important thing. I never had any patience, of course, for thinking small, because in German we have saying wenn und dann on. And that means that if you do something, then go all out and do it well. And this was not just the case in bodybuilding. I didn't just want to be a bodybuilding champion. I wanted to be the greatest bodybuilder of all times. I wanted to have the most muscle, the most muscle of all times, the most definition. I wanted to win the most trophies, the most world championship titles. I just wanted to be the best. And the same is also in movies. I didn't just think about being in movies. No, I wanted to be a movie star. I wanted to have above the title building. I wanted to become the highest paid entertainer. I basically wanted to be another John Wayne. What's wrong with that? And then same as in politics. I didn't just want to go and be in politics and enter a race for city council. I mean, let's be honest. Does that sound right, Schwartz, city council? No. Come on, not even Schwarzenegger and mayor. No, it had to be Schwarzenegger running for governor, but not just any governor, but governor of the greatest state in the United States of California. That was the important thing. I give you an example of big thinking. Big when I became governor, I wanted to rebuild California's ancient infrastructure. You see, America has been living off infrastructure that was built in the 50s and 60s. And it drives me absolutely insane that America hasn't started rebuilding that infrastructure. I mean, we haven't invested in new roads or in new transit or in schools or in energy or anything like that for decades. The number of cars that we have now in America are 4 times as many as we had in the 60s. So therefore we should be having 4 times as many freeways, 4 times as many tunnels, 4 times as many bridges and all this. But we don't. So this is why I wanted to get an act together and do the upgrading, least in California. So when I talk about infrastructure, I didn't really want to just fix roads and fix and close some holes on the roads. I wanted to build massive freeways on top of freeways. I wanted to build the first high-speed rail in the United States. I wanted to build more bridges and more tunnels, more on ramps and off ramps. I wanted to see literally cranes everywhere. Well, there was no excuse for Californians to get stuck in traffic. And there was no excuse really to send your kids in overcrowded classrooms and schools. And there was also no excuse that Los Angeles has a 100-year-old sewage system that's shitty. I think first, of course, some of the legislators looked at me like I was absolutely insane when I told him this vision. They were willing to spend maybe $5 billion, which of course is petty cash in compared to what my vision was. But so some politicians, of course, had a hard time to see the big picture because they didn't really ever travel outside California. So they haven't really seen big infrastructure. They haven't really seen big infrastructure all over the United States or maybe in Asia, in China, or in Korea, or in Brazil, or in European countries, or here in Australia maybe. So they haven't seen that. And then, of course, there are other politicians that simply don't have a vision of the future past the next election, which is a common problem politicians have all over the world. So it was my job as governor to motivate them and to take them and to see the traffic jams in Los Angeles. It isn't to see the overcrowded classrooms and to see all the problems that we have. They kept pushing and pushing, and I pumped them up enough that eventually they saw the big picture, and eventually Democrats and Republicans came together, and we invested $60 billion to rebuild California's infrastructure, the biggest investment of our state in 50 years. So that's what we did because we had a big vision, and everyone bought in on this big vision. So remember, never think small than big. My third rule is ignore the naysayers. I think it is natural that when you have a big vision and big dreams and you have big goals that people are going to say around you, I don't think it can be done. I think it's impossible. Or no, I tell you, I heard this all the time, but I want to tell you, don't ever let them stop you from dreaming and from shooting for the big goal, because eliminate just simply those words, no, impossible, and it can't be done. I mean, in each one of my careers, when someone said it's impossible, I heard it's possible. When someone said it can't be done, I heard it can be done. And when someone said no, then I heard loud and clear, yes. So this is what I believe. I am a big believer of what Nelson Mandela said. He said it always seems to be impossible until someone does it. And that's exactly what it is. And I wanted to be that one that does it. I wanted to break the new records, and I wanted to do something that no one else has ever done. So I think that's what you need to do. Don't ever be worried about that. Someone hasn't done it. Just think about how many times my career would have stopped, my career would have ended if I would have listened to the naysayers. I mean, it started right away when I was 15 years old and I became a bodybuilder. Right after it happened, I said, I want to be a world champion in bodybuilding. I want to be Mr. Universe. They immediately said, are you crazy? You in Austria? In Austria, you can become a ski champion or a bicycle champion or something like that. But bodybuilding is an American sport. Forget about it. It's nuts Then when they wanted to move to America, they said, again, it's impossible. You will never be able to do that. You have no money. You're all by yourself. And then when I wanted to go into show business after I won 13 world championship titles in bodybuilding, I said, I want to be like Ree Park. I want to be a Hercules. I want to get into movies. Well, I tell you, when I met those agents and managers and studio executives, their reaction was, oh, Aroyd, that is so funny. You want to be what, a leading man? Oh, come on. I mean, look, first of all, let's start with your B body. Look at your body. I mean, you're overdeveloped. You're gigantic. You're like a monster. Are you kidding me? Do you know what the new trend is little guys like Dustin Hoffman, Al Pacino, Woody Allen. Those are the new sex symbols. Don't you get it? And then your accent. Oh, it gives me the chills just listening to your German. Come on now. I mean, oh God. I mean, it's like, it's scary when you talk. It's unbelievable. I mean, have you ever, Arnold, I mean, this serious. Have you ever seen an international movie start with the German accent? It doesn't happen. Forget about that. And then your name, what is it? S.C.H. Watson Schnitzel or something like that. Yeah, I can see that name already up there on the billboard. Yes. And people are going to storm the theater and the movie houses because Schwartz and Schnitz is starring in the movie. Oh yeah, I can see that already. So that's what they said. They said to me, it says, look, forget about it, you nice guy. I mean, you're bodybuilding champion. Why don't you open up a gymnasium or a health food store, something like that. We can help you with that. And then we get you on the side, some little parts, like maybe playing a bouncer. I mean, with your body perfect, or maybe a wrestler. I have a good idea with you accent, a Nazi officer. Now that's really great for you. I call my buddies over. The Hogan's heroes. I mean, they would probably use someone like you. So that's what they said. Imagine that everywhere I turned, they said, no, it won't happen. It's not going to happen, and forget about it. Luckily, I did not listen. I did not listen because I knew if I worked hard enough and if I worked as hard as I did in bodybuilding 5-6 hours a day, that I will make it, that I could prove them wrong. And I started working very hard. I started taking acting classes, English classes, speech classes, dialogue classes, even accent removal classes. I ran around all day saying lines like a fine wine grows on a vine, because you see the Austrians and Germans have a difficult time with the V and with the W and with the F. We get it all mixed up. So it was a fine wine grows on a vine, or the sink is made out of zinc, and all those kind of lines. I said, oh, and no. And, you know, something over a sudden, I got a little break in the early 70s. I remember all of a sudden I got a TV show, a little part, then another little part, and then all of a sudden I got a phone call from Lucille B. to be in her special Happy Anniversary and Goodbye, which was with Art Carney. I had the 6-minute scene as an Italian Mur. Now, most people don't know the difference between an Italian accent and the German accent, so I got away with my German accent, but I played this Italian M, and I was so delighted. And then right after that, I got a guest starring role in Streets of San Francisco with Michael Douglas and Carl Malin, and then Pumping Iron and Stay Hungry. And then, of course, I landed the big role of Conan the Barbarian. So finally, I got the big break. And, you know, what was so interesting about it was that soon as we were finished with the Conan movie, we were out there on a promotion tour, and the director said at the press conference, the director is John Malleus, he said, if we wouldn't have had Schwarzenegger with those muscle, we would have had to build one. Now think about that. Before, it was this huge obstacle to have this body. And all of a sudden the director says, if he wouldn't have had Schwarzenegger with his body, we would have had to build one. Now, what a turnaround. And then when I did Terminator, James Cameron said, which was really great, he said the alley back line became one of the most famous movie lines in history because of Arnold's crazy accent, because he sounded like a machine when he talks. So as you see, everything that the naysayers said was a liability, became an asset. And the same was also in my political career when I ran for governor. They immediately said, I shouldn't do it. It is a big mistake. It won't happen. I will lose, and all those kind of things. And the rest, of course, is history. The bottom line is, if I would have listened to naysayers, my career would have ended when I was 15 years old. I would be still yodeling in Austria in the Alps, and I would not be talking here today to you. And the reason why I'm here today and talking to you is because I did not listen to you can't, or it's impossible, or no. So I just recommend to you very strongly, ignore the naysayers. My fourth rule is work your ass off. Nobody ever stumbled up on success by accident, except maybe the guy who found gold in California. But don't ever think that you can be that guy. I mean, you never want to fail because you didn't work hard enough. I always believe, no stone unturned, work your butt off. That's what I always believe. No matter what you do, work. I remember Muhammad Ali, one of my great heroes, had a great line in the 70s when he was asked, how many sit-ups do you do? He said, I don't know, because I start counting only when it starts burning. When it starts burning, that's when it starts counting. You see, that's what makes you a champion. It doesn't matter in what area you're in. No pain, no gain. The bottom line is one of my rules, which is work your butt off. If you don't apply that rule, all the other rules won't mean anything. I mean, it drives me absolutely nuts. When people say, I don't have time to work out, have you heard that many times? I don't have time to work out, or I have worked so hard all day, I'm tired, I cannot work out anymore, I cannot read another book, or I cannot improve myself, or I don't have time, or I work so hard that I cannot really improve my business, or I cannot grow as a person, or any of those things. What the hell are we talking about here? I mean, today is 24 hours, you sleep 6 hours, so you have 18 hours left. I mean, I know there's some of you out there that say, well, wait a minute, I sleep actually 8 hours, but that's just sleep faster. Okay, you don't, I mean, let's not get bogged down with this stuff here. Listen, when I came to the United States, I remember that I trained 5 hours a day every day, and I was managing a construction business, and I was a bricklayer, and I went to college also, and I took acting classes from 8 at night to 12 until midnight, all of that in one day every day. I did that. I did not worry about it. I knew that I had 24 hours, and I didn't want to waste one single hour, because I believe of what Ted Turner said, who is one of the great entrepreneurs who started CNN, and so on. He said, early to bed, early to rise, work like hell, and advertise. So that's what I believe. Just remember, you can't climb that ladder of success with your hands in your pockets. You must work your ass off. It's that simple. And my fifth and last rule is don't just give something back. Leave your mark on the world. I believe that we all have an obligation to do something for our community, something for our state, something for our country. We must serve a cause that is greater than ourselves, because we all know that on the end, we will be judged not by how much we made, but by how much we give. Ever since America greeted me with open arms, I've had the sense of responsibility, and I felt obligated to give something back to America, because I know that everything that I have accomplished is because of America. If it's my bodybuilding career, if it is my show, business career, my political career, the money that have made my great family, that I have all of this is because of America. But I have to recognize the fact that America did not become the land of opportunity in this great country by itself. No, in history, people worked tirelessly in America. People fought and people died to make it the land of freedom and opportunity and the land of liberty. So now it is our responsibility, if you want to keep it the number one country in the world, to work for that and to give something back to that country. And it doesn't matter if you're in America, or if you're in Australia, or if you're in China, or if you're in Japan or in Italy, it is the same thing. You all have to give something back to your country, no matter where you're from. I love the words of my father-in-law, Sergeant Shreya, who started the Peace Corps, the Job Corps legal aid to the poor during the Kennedy and during the Johnson administration. He was the number one public servant. And he always inspired me to become a public servant. He was one of my heroes. He said at Yale University, at a commencement speech, he said to the students, tear down that mirror that makes you always look at yourself, and you will be able to look beyond that mirror, and you will see the millions and millions of people that need your help. And I saw those millions and millions of people. And this is why I try to take every opportunity that could to give something back. I started training Special Olympians, people that were intellectually handicapped, to help them with weightlifting and powerlifting. I became the international powerlifting coach and the torchbearer for Special Olympics. Then later on, I joined the Simon Wendell Center to fight prejudice, so we don't have the things happening again as we had during the Second World War, during the Nazi Reich. And music, I joined also the President's Council. L on fitness. I became the chairman under President Bush from 1990 to 1993 to be the chairman and to promote health and fitness in all 50 states. I traveled all 50 states. I started after school programs for the most vulnerable children, for Enoch City children, to make them be able to say no to drugs, no to gangs, and no to violence, and to say yes to education and yes to life. And every single time I reached out and I gave something back, I felt fantastic. Nothing made me happier. I would rather play chess with an 8-year-old kid in an after-school program, or play golf, a round of golf with a Special Olympian, then go down another red carpet of a movie premiere. And I have nothing against movies, but to give something back to me is more important than just to think about myself. Eventually, the joy of giving back was so great that I decided to become a public servant full-time, and to turn my back, actually walk away from my career as an actor. After I finished promoting Terminator 3, I jumped into the race, into the governor's race in California, and I ran for governor. And even though my friends advised me not to do that, they said, "Are you crazy, Arnold? Don't you understand that you would lose now this $20-30 million movie that you're getting paid, and they will only pay you $178,000 as governor a year?" Well, I didn't care, because I knew that all the money that I've made, and to be in that position in the first first place to make this money is because of America. It was time to give something back. So I became governor, and I didn't even take the $178,000. I give it back to the taxpayers because it was petty cash. It's the last thing I needed. And I can tell you that those 7 years were the most exciting and the most rewarding and the most gratifying years of my life. To work all day long, to solve problems and to serve the people was absolutely heaven. It was the best job I've ever had. But I also knew that eventually it's going to come to an end. And after 2 terms, it did come to an end. But when he came to an end, the one thing that didn't come to an end and was not finished was my desire to be a public servant and to serve the people. And this is why I continued to work for Special Olympics. That's why I continued to work on fighting my fitness crusade and traveling around the world to promote health and fitness. And this is why I continue to support after-school programs. And we even started the Schwartz Institute at the University of Southern California to continue to inspire students and leaders around the world to find solutions to complicated issues and to give back to make the world a better place. So, because thank you, but I tell you that I was very fortunate that I had great heroes. I had great heroes that I could look up to, and I mentioned 2 of them, Muhammad Ali and Sage, my father-in-law. But there's other great heroes like Gorbachev, Reagan, Mandela, great leaders like Mother Teresa, Chancellor Kohl, and Churchill, and the list goes on and on. I mean, those people had such an impact on the world. Single-handedly, they've changed the world. I mean, if you think about just Gash, I mean, this man, every time I meet him, I'm in awe. I mean, he grew up under communism and he rose from the bottom of the ranks straight up to the top. He came president of the Soviet Union, one of the most powerful people in the world, and he was the leader of the Communist Party. And when he was in the top position, he realized that the system was broken. Now, what do you do when you're the top leader of the Communist Party and you realize that the system, that communism doesn't work well? You know what he did? He dismantled communism. Think about the courage that takes. I mean, the guts that it takes to do that. Think about that. Gorbachev completely transformed his country with glasnost to give his people, for the first time, freedom. And then through Barstow, by reforming Russia's economy, he didn't wait for the next president. He didn't complain. He simply said, if not me, who and I? For not now. So I feel very strongly all of us need to have and embrace that kind of a spirit. We all can create change, whether it is in our neighborhood or in our local schools or in our country. It can be big, but it can also be as little as just going to a school kid that has problems reading and teaching that kids how to read or how to do math. We don't have to just work on me. We should also work on not just me, but also we remember that to lead a truly full life, you must give back. You must leave the world a better place than you found it. Because the bottom line is, it is up to us. I mean, those rules that I've given you are important rules, but giving back is one of the most important rules. I guarantee you that if you follow all of those rules, you will have many victories to celebrate, and you will leave, your work, and you will have extraordinary kind of a record, and you will leave a legacy behind that you can be proud of. So I want you to remember those rules have a vision. Think big, ignore the and sayers, work your ass off and give back and change the world. Because if not us, who? If not now, when? So my first rule is find your vision and follow it. And when you truly lock in on that vision, something inside of you changes. It is as if a fire is lit deep within your heart that refuses to go out. Every day when you wake up, you no longer drag yourself out of bed. Instead, you jump up with purpose because you know where you are heading. The people around you may still complain about Mondays or dread the long week ahead. But when you have a vision, even the hardest day feels like a stepping stone. That clarity gives you strength. It turns ordinary effort into extraordinary persistence. When I was a young man in Austria, I could see myself already living in America, even though I was still walking through the small streets of my hometown. My body was not yet strong on. Oh, my English was almost non-existent. My wallet was empty, but my mind was already living inside the future I had designed for myself. And that is the power of vision. It allows you to step into the life you want before it even exists. You carry that image so strongly that it feels real, and eventually the world bends to catch up to the picture in your mind. But I want you to understand something very clearly. Vision alone is not enough. Many people dream, but very few truly decide. A vision must be paired with commitment. It is one thing to say, I want to be successful, but it is another thing to say, I will do whatever it takes, no matter how long it takes. The first statement is a wish. The second is a declaration. And declarations change everything. They make you unstoppable. Because even when the journey gets dark, you refuse to quit. And you must expect the journey to be dark at times. No one who has ever achieved greatness did it without struggle. Every dream has a price tag attached to it, and the payment is made in hours, in sweat, in rejection, and in sacrifice. People will doubt you, circumstances will try to break you, and life will test you to see how much you really want what you say you want. But here's the truth. Those tests are not sent to stop you. They are sent to prepare you. They are sharpening your character, your patience, your discipline. Every no you hear is fuel. Every setback is a lesson. Every failure is shaping you into someone strong enough to carry the weight of your future. I remember countless days where my body ached, where I questioned whether I could keep pushing, where it seemed like the mountain was too steep to climb. But every single time I would close my eyes and see the picture in my head. That vision of standing on the stage, of holding the trophy, of making it to America, it gave me the energy to take one more step, to push through one more rep, to keep moving when everything in me wanted to stop. That's what a vision does. It pulls you forward like gravity. Now, some people will tell you to be realistic. They will try to convince you that dreaming too big is dangerous, that you should aim for something safer, something smaller. But the danger is not in thinking big. The real danger is in thinking too small and achieving it. Because when you limit yourself to tiny goals, you rob yourself of the growth, the adventure, and the satisfaction that come with stretching beyond what you thought was possible. You might hit that small target, but inside you will always wonder, what could I have been if I had just dared to believe in more? Thinking big forces you to rise above fear. It forces you to face challenges that shape you into a different person. And yes, you will fail sometimes. You will stumble. You will fall flat on your face. But that is part of the process. Failure is not the opposite of success. It is the doorway to success. Every time you fail, you are simply crossing off one wrong approach on your way to discovering the right one. The only real failure is quitting. If you get up, if you adjust, if you keep moving, then failure is nothing but progress in disguise. I cannot emphasize enough how important it is to protect your vision from the voices of doubt. There will always be people who tell you that you are crazy, that your goals are impossible, that your dreams are too ambitious. Sometimes these voices come from strangers, sometimes even from family or friends who mean well but cannot see what you see. You must learn to close your ears to the noise and open your eyes to the possibilities. Remember, it is not their dream, it is yours. They do not need to believe it, only you do. And once you prove them wrong, those same people who doubted you will become the ones who admire you. But none of this matters without work. Vision is the spark, but hard work is the fuel. You can have the clearest vision in the world, but if you are not willing to grind, it will remain just a dream. Success is built in the hours no one sees. Those early mornings, those late nights, those moments when others are partying and you are training, when others are sleeping and you are studying, when others are relaxing and you are building. That is where greatness is born, in the hidden hours of relentless effort. And do not misunderstand me. Hard work does not mean suffering without joy. The beauty of working toward your vision is that even the hardest work becomes fulfilling. When you know why you are doing it, when you can see the result in your mind, the pain becomes purpose. You stop counting the cost and start counting the progress. You stop asking, how much longer do I have to do this? And start saying, every moment brings me closer. That is why you must choose a vision that excites you so deeply that the work becomes your privilege, not your punishment. Along the way, you will discover something even more powerful, that success is not just about what you achieve, but about what you contribute. There comes a point where reaching the top is no longer enough. The real fulfillment comes when you use your strength, your platform, your resources to lift others. Because the truth is, you can build the tallest building, you can earn the biggest paycheck, you can collect all the trophies, but at the end of your life, the question will not be, how much did you get? It will be, how much did you give? That is where true greatness lies. And giving back does not always mean grand gestures or massive donations. Sometimes it is as simple as mentoring someone who is just starting out, sharing your knowledge, inspiring someone who feels lost, or lending a hand to someone who is struggling. Even the smallest act of service can create ripples far beyond what you can see. That one conversation, that one piece of encouragement could ignite a vision in someone else that changes their entire future. That is impact. That is legacy. So when you think about success, do not limit it to just personal gain. Think bigger. Think about the lives you can touch, the opportunities you can create, the difference you can make. Imagine a world where each of us not only pursued our own dreams, but also helped others rise along with us. Imagine the kind of communities, the kind of nations, the kind of future we could build together. That is what it means to truly change the world. And I want you to carry this with you. Everything you need is already inside you. The vision, the strength, the resilience, the potential, it is all there waiting to be unleashed. The world will try to convince you otherwise, but the truth is you have always been capable of more than you think. You are stronger than your doubts, greater than your fears, and tougher than your failures. All that is left is for you to decide. Decide to see the vision. Decide to believe in it. Decide to chase it with everything you have. Decide to rise every time you fall. Decide to give back when you succeed, because the future is not reserved for the lucky few. It is reserved for the bold, the relentless, the ones who refuse to settle, the ones who keep moving forward when others give up. And if you are willing to step into that mindset, if you are willing to embrace those principles, then there is no limit to what you can build, no limit to who you can become, no limit to how much you can give. Now, my third rule is ignore the naysayers, because the moment you set out with a big vision, the world will start whispering in your ear that it cannot be done. People will line up to hand you their doubts, their fears, their own limitations, and they will try to pass them on to you as if they are facts. They will look you straight in the eyes and tell you that your dream is unrealistic, that the path you have chosen is too difficult, that the odds are stacked against you. But remember this. Their words are not about your potential. They are about their own belief system. What they really mean when they say it can't be done is, I can't imagine myself doing it. They are not describing your limits. They are describing theirs. This is why ignoring the naysayers is not just advice, it is survival. Because if you let their voices get into your head, you will start shrinking your vision to fit into their comfort zone. You will start doubting yourself before you even begin. You will start carrying the weight of other people's fears on your shoulders, and that burden will crush your spirit before you have a chance to fight. So when you hear no, learn to translate it into yes. When you hear impossible, train yourself to hear possible. When they say you will fail, respond inside with watch me succeed. You see, history itself is proof that the naysayers are almost always wrong. Every great breakthrough, every great invention, every great movement was first labeled impossible. Flying was impossible until someone flew. Running a mile under 4 minutes was impossible until someone did it. Splitting the atom was impossible until someone achieved it. Over and over again, the world has advanced because individuals chose not to listen when the crowd shouted no. They pressed on, and in doing so, they changed reality itself. And that is the mindset you must carry. If you want to achieve something extraordinary, you cannot measure your path by the yardstick of ordinary minds. You must see further than they can see, believe deeper than they can believe, and be willing to stand alone while they laugh, because in time the laughter fades, and the results speak louder than any voice of doubt. Of course, none of this means the road will be easy. When you chase a dream that stretches beyond the horizon, you will meet resistance, not just from people, but from circumstances, from failures, from your own doubts that creep in during the quiet hours of the night. But here's the truth. Resistance is the surest sign that you are on the right path. If it were easy, everyone would be doing it. If it were comfortable, everyone would already have it. Resistance is not the enemy. It is confirmation that you are chasing something worth having. But resistance alone is not enough. You must answer it with the fourth rule. Work your ass off. Too many people want success, but only a few are willing to pay the price it demands. Everyone loves the idea of winning, of standing on the podium, of being celebrated, but very few love the grind required to get there. And this is where the separation happens, between those who talk and those who do, between those who wish and those who will. Hard work is not glamorous. It is repetition. It is sacrifice. It is long hours when no one is watching. It is pushing your limits until your body and mind beg you to quit. But this is where champions are made. They are made in the silence of early mornings, in the sweat dripping off their faces when everyone else is still sleeping, in the late nights when the world has shut down, but they are still pushing forward. Every extra rep, every extra page, every extra hour becomes a brick in the foundation of greatness. And when people look at someone successful and say they are lucky, they are blind to the years of invisible work. Luck may open a door, but hard work is what keeps it open. Without relentless effort, talent fades, opportunities vanish, and potential dies unfulfilled. That is why the moment you decide to chase your vision, you must also decide to give it everything you have. No shortcuts, no excuses, no half-hearted attempts, because success demands all of you. Think about it this way. Life is like a ladder, and success is at the top. You cannot climb that ladder with your hands in your pockets. Every rung requires effort, Each step requires energy. And yes, sometimes you will slip, sometimes you will miss a step and fall down a few rungs. But the only way to get back up is to keep climbing. If you stop moving, if you stop working, you will never reach the top. But here is something many people overlook. Hard work is not a punishment. It is a gift. Because it is through hard work that you discover what you are truly made of. It reveals your resilience, your discipline, your endurance. It shapes your character in ways comfort never could. And when the moment of victory finally arrives, the joy is multiplied because you know exactly what it cost you. Every ounce of sweat, every moment of doubt, every sacrifice made the success meaningful. Without the work, the reward is empty. With the work, it is priceless. And once you have tasted success, once you have built a life through vision, courage, and hard work, there is one final rule that will complete the circle. Give something back. Because true success is not measured by how high you climb, but by how many you lift along the way. You can build wealth, you can earn fame, you can gather achievements, but if your life only revolves around you, it will eventually feel hollow. The greatest fulfillment comes when you use your blessings to bless others, when you use your strength to strengthen others, when you use your victories to inspire others. Giving back does not take away from your success. It multiplies it. It creates impact that outlives you, influence that spreads beyond you, and a legacy that remains long after you are gone. It is the difference between a career and a calling, between success and significance is what truly satisfies the soul. When you give back, you also remind yourself of where you came from. You remember that none of us achieve greatness alone. Somewhere along your journey, someone encouraged you, someone believed in you, someone gave you an opportunity. To give back is to honor that gift by passing it forward. It is to recognize that your story is part of a larger story, and that your role is not just to shine for yourself, but to light the way for others. And giving back can take many forms. It could be through teaching, mentoring, creating opportunities, fighting for a cause, or simply living as an example of what is possible. The form does not matter. The heart does. A single act of kindness, a single moment of service can set off a chain reaction of change that echoes far beyond your reach. That is power. That is impact. That is what it means to change the world. So as you move forward, hold on to these truths. When you set your vision, set it clearly and boldly. When you think about your goals, make them so big they scare you. When you hear the voices of doubt, silence them with action. When the path gets hard, dig deeper and work harder. And when success finally comes, do not keep it locked in your own hands. Spread it, share it, and give it back. Because the world does not change through one person's achievements, it changes through one person's willingness to lead, to inspire, and to serve.